How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Today I wanted to talk about and briefly review 3 of the games that happened on Thursday night because I found them to be very interesting. The first one I want to start with is the Fusion and the NYXL game. So the reason I wanted to talk about this match so badly is mostly because of the Fusion. They looked absolutely horrible last night, and it kind of felt like they threw the match away. The first major issue I noticed with how they played is that they kept forcing themselves into playing DPS and Baptiste comps when it clearly wasn't finding much success. The only time one of these comps actually worked was their point A attack on Paris. But other than that, the NYXL just kept rolling over them with goats. I will admit that it was really fun to see the new hero as well as some DPS being played in a meta that was expected to still be dominated by goats, but I feel like playing such characters against a team like the NYXL, who typically play really well in whatever meta they're currently in, is not the best idea. It seems like DPS is going to be more important than I initially thought, but I think it would be a better idea for the Fusion to run these comps against a team that's more on their level. The chances of it actually working would be so much higher. The other major issue I had with the Fusion was their GOATs. Sato and Boombox in particular really disappointed me with their performances. It honestly felt like Sato just couldn't land a shatter to save his life, and Boombox was using Transcendence before Nene used Graviton Surge far too often. Trance is basically the only way to give your team the sustain needed to survive Zarya ult, so throwing away such a crucial ability can often lead to your team's demise. I understand that Boombox usually popped his Trance to counter the one used by Jonek, but I feel like that's exactly what the NYXL wanted him to do. I don't know if the Fusion had trouble with ult tracking this match or something, but there were a bunch of moments throughout this entire match where Boombox was using Trance when Nene was at like 80 or 90% to his next grav. I apologize to any Fusion fans out there when saying this, but they looked horrible, I'll be honest. But hey, at least we all got to see Elk on stage some more. That's always a plus. He was, in my opinion, one of the only bright spots for this team yesterday, but even he didn't play all that well. But at the same time, even though the Fusion didn't play very well, I have to give credit where it's due to the NYXL. They looked really good. They dominated all night long, and while the Fusion are busy trying to figure out what went wrong for them, the NYXL will more than likely be carrying this momentum into their next game against the Dragons. The next game we have to talk about is the Atlanta Reign versus the Boston Uprising. What started off as a game that appeared to be one at the half, very soon turned into a 5-map reverse sweep thriller pulled off by the Uprising. But this game wasn't just really good because of the reverse sweep. We also got to see some new faces and some old ones that we haven't seen in quite some time. We have to start by talking about Baby Bay. I don't rate him as highly as other people do, but it was really good to see him back on stage after almost an entire year of him not being there. And he didn't look too bad either. His Zarya, Tracer, and Sombra were all pretty decent for the most part. If Baby Bay can keep it up, then this trade will have been extremely worth it for the Reign. The other big lineup change we saw come out of the Reign was at their off-tank spot. Their recent pickup FRD played over Dako for the entire series, which was something I was not expecting at all. I'd never even heard of the guy up until a couple of days ago. It's pretty clear why the Reign picked him up though. The man has versatility. He can play Sombra, which is something that I'm pretty sure Dako can't play, and I think it's pretty obvious that the Atlanta Reign really want to move in a direction that has more Sombra involved in their compositions. And I'm also very interested to see if the Reign stick with FRD as their full-time starter moving forward, or if him and Dako are going to be splitting playtime. Then there's Boston. RCK had recently been traded to them for note, and I must say, RCK played pretty well in his Boston debut. He made a few big plays on the Diva, and him playing a fair amount of Sombra shows exactly why Boston wanted him in the first place. The Uprising management felt like the team would benefit more from having a more versatile flex tank player, more than one that can basically just play Diva, and that showed with the result of this match. Anyone else find it ironic that RCK pulled off a reverse sweep on the same team that reverse swept him just a few weeks earlier when he was on the Fuel? Another takeaway from this game is that Boston yet again proved that they are one of the most scrappy and underdog-like teams in the entire league. It's just impossible to count these guys out. Even a complete overhaul of their roster hasn't changed that one bit. The Uprising already have 2 reverse sweeps under their belts after just 8 games. This is a team with the right mentality. They know what it takes to overcome adversity, and I promise all Boston fans out there that this is the kind of mindset that's going to help your team go a long way. The final game I wanted to discuss is the Eternal versus the Charge. First off, Paris looked amazing. Congrats on such a big win. They absolutely dominated the competition. The best part about all of this though was that the Eternal were running a lot of DPS. We saw everything you could really dream of from both teams though. I'm thankful that both teams decided to play a fair amount of Soldier and Baptiste. That really made this game fun to watch. Let's shift the discussion back over to the Eternal though. In their first game with a new head coach, they really shook things up by playing a lot of players we either haven't seen before or not much of in Stage 1. Playing LH Cloudy over Benbest was a very interesting move, and it worked out pretty well. Cloudy looked pretty good in his debut. We also got to see Gray come in for Hip, and we also saw the DPS player Danye make his first appearance on stage, and I'd say that both of these guys had a pretty strong outing. Then there's Shadowburn, of course. Swapping Nico out and putting Shadow on Brig duty was something I was not expecting. I'm really glad it happened though. Shadowburn deserves to be on stage more often, and hey, when he wasn't stuck on Brig, we got to see him on his signature Pharaoh, which looked just as good as it always has if I'm going to be honest. And we even got to see him make a few highlight-worthy plays, which you absolutely love to see. Seeing Shadowburn and Soon play together was something I hope to see a lot of this season, so I was really happy to witness the two of them popping off together last night. I like the changes that Paris has been making so far. I'm glad they decided to incorporate some of their other players into their game plan. It was obvious that their Stage 1 lineup was not working, and desperate times do call for desperate measures. Sometimes all a team really needs to do is make a few lineup adjustments to fix their problems, and that showed for the Paris Eternal. One other takeaway from this game that I actually found to be pretty funny was when the Charge ran a double shield attack Bastion comp with a Baptiste on Paris. This is the type of comp I expect to be seeing ran in one of my comp games, so seeing the Charge do this made me laugh. And the sad thing about all of it is that the Charge's attempt went about as well as it would for me in one of my games. It failed miserably, and it just added on to the humor factor. So overall, I'd say the Thursday games were pretty fun to watch, even though most of them weren't exactly all that close. We got to see way more DPS and Baptiste than I thought we would, and I could not be happier. It's good to see teams adopting the Hunter's playstyle. Hopefully Thursday is just the beginning of what's looking to be a really unique and exciting stage of the Overwatch League. And with that being said, that's basically everything I've got for you guys today. If you enjoyed this content, then be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you all so much for watching today's video, and until next time, this is ATP, signing out. Peace.